guys are tall. Hello. That's really right. Right, guys, I've got something a little bit boring to do first. I'm doing a survey at the moment. Would you take part in it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, just raise your hand if the question applies. All right, so who in this room has ever been bullied? Yeah, 1, 2. You guys all suck. Yeah, no, to be honest, it makes sense. I was bullied as well, so I'm not going to get any sympathy now, but I was bullied. I was bullied for a few things. One of the things was for being gay before I knew I was gay, so I guess they were psychic. I was also bullied for being dyslexic, right? But you know what the saying says, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words, never understood them actually. So it's alright. One of my bullies actually told me that I wouldn't get a good job because of my dyslexia. It's obviously not true. One of the first jobs I ever got was training to be a junior barrister. And one of the first things that they ever taught me was it's pronounced barista. Anyway, that joke is genuinely based on a truth. For a long time on my CV, I was claiming that I was a barrister for which, considering the nut problem, oh God, would have been a hard job. But anyway, look, it was a truthful thing, and so because of this, I get quite, I don't have a proper job. So wait, what's your job? Okay, no, it's alright. It's not a real job. Someone just shout out what their job is. One person, go.
Journalist.
Real job. See, journalist, proper job. I don't have one of those. And by proper job, I mean the sort of job your parents aren't ashamed of. Alright, come on. Anyway, look, I don't have a proper job, and so because I don't have a proper job, I get quite a lot of FOMO. So, some of you probably don't know what FOMO means. Alright, okay. So for those of you who don't know what FOMO means, yeah, what I'd like to do is sit with that feeling. Very slow applause. Anyway, look, I don't have a proper job, and because I get a lot of FOMO, what I've started to do now is I go and sit on a train in a 3-piece suit just to see what it fits. Feels good. Anyway, look, let's get to know me, because that's what we're here for, and I'm holding the mic. A bit about me, guys. I'm sure you already worked it out, but I am a solid 10 out of 10. Alright. The fact that some people laughed at that first is quite witty. Anyway, look, I'm a solid 10 out of 10. I'm also a massive fan of Doctor Who. Yeah? Some people have called me autistic. I prefer the term Whovian. Whereas my bully preferred the term, who gives a shit, you're autistic? So sad. Anyway, look, I'm also, another thing about me is that I'm permanently sick. Dyslexic, you guys, it's so stupid. Anyway. Look, okay, another thing about me, you might have recognised my surname, because my surname is Jenner, right? So we know the surname Jenner. Yeah, because it's now well associated to the American royal family. Yeah. But like our royal family, they're quite similar really. They're both very rich, they're powerful, and they do quite a lot of cultural appropriation. And I don't want to be linked to that, because actually I do subculture appropriation. I'm actually not a lesbian, I just wanted a mother. And look, apparently with this hairstyle I've appropriated 2 groups, lesbians and anyone from Clapham. So. Fine, it was a lie too big. I am Lilia Leza. Homophobic laughed. Anyway, I didn't really mean it, but although I have the hairstyle, I'm actually not a very qualified lesbian. I don't think I got the degree, and by that, I mean I don't own any Lucy and Yak. I also don't know really anything about star signs. My girlfriend recently told me that she's a Scorpio, and apparently that means she's always intense. Never seen her camping. I'm a Gemini. This means I have 2 faces, so when I go down on her, she gets to experience twice the disappointment, actually. So. Look, I actually met my girlfriend just after COVID, which is quite lucky because with my experience, it's actually quite impersonal to go down on someone in a face mask. that we're living in a cashless society now. Not in Kyle Wallace's mind. Anyone? No? Jimmy? Calm down. Anyway, it was a little mean pun. Anyway, look, we are living in a cashless society now. And I think that that's quite good for the soul. At least none of us have to lie to the homeless anymore. Another thing since COVID that changed is a lot of people are working from home now. Really just rubbing it in the face of the homeless guys. Come on. Anyway, look, I actually get quite jealous of the people that are working from home because, well, they have a proper job, don't they? And they also have a proper house, so calm down, leave something for me. Another thing in COVID, do you guys remember when everyone got dogs in COVID? Yeah. Guys, dogs aren't just for quarantine, they're for life. And it might come as a shock, but I am also a pussy lover. But look, I might split the room, but I actually see dogs the same way I see children. Because I'm not a massive fan of children. And look, that's the best thing about being in a queer relationship is there is no chance of an accidental pregnancy. Sorry, Stella. That's really horrible. Anyway, there's no chance of an accidental pregnancy, and look, it might come as a shock to some of you because your parents probably lied, but you're a mistake. And I know that the late great philosopher Bob Brooks once said there's no such thing as mistakes, just happy little accidents. But he didn't see your faces, did he? Can't turn those into trees. Anyway, I do actually view dogs the same way I view children, and by this, obviously, I'm not evil. They can obviously be very cute. However, if they're loud, I don't want to be in the same room as them, right? And if they bite someone, we should put them down. That's a great choice. But I'm kidding, I would actually never put down a dog. In fact, actually, when I was younger, I had an XL bully. She's anorexic now. Oh, right, calm down. Anyway, no, I did. Obviously, I had a bully, and look, I don't hate my bully. I don't hate her, even though she bullied me for being gay, right? And she herself now lives in Brighton. So what is she, guys? Gay. Exactly. She's a sponsor for Lucy and Yak. Thank you very much, guys.